Thank you, Steph. Okay, there is no official winner determined in the race to the U.S. presidency, but as the battle intensifies, Trump launching a legal action, I should say, while Biden inches closer to a victory and assures supporters that he is confident of the outcome.
I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners. No one's going to take our democracy away from us. Not now, not ever. Sure we'll have more to say.
Biden getting the upper edge after flipping two battleground states, Michigan and Wisconsin. 270 electoral votes. Again, that is the magic number needed to become the president-elect. Right now, CNN projecting Biden is in the lead right now at 253 to Trump's 213. All eyes are now on key states, which include Arizona and Pennsylvania, as vote counting enters day 3 and Americans anxiously awaiting results. And this is what it looked like here. Chants from Trump supporters as the delay causes unrest outside of this elections facility in Arizona, accusing elections officials of manipulating the results and are calling for an end to the vote count. Similar protests are also happening in Michigan. This race, far from over. Hundreds of thousands of votes still need to be tallied. Meantime, the Trump campaign has filed an onslaught of lawsuits in Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, demanding that vote tallies be halted, citing irregularities and the need for transparency throughout the counting process. And in New York, we're watching this. Police have arrested at least 50 protesters, taking to the streets demanding a thorough count of all ballots. What started out as a peaceful protest quickly turning violent. Demonstrators and police began to clash in the city's West Village. Protesters also calling for an end to racial injustice and policing. Now, let's break this down for you. We keep on talking about that magic 270. So where do things stand when it comes to the Electoral College? Here is a map of the U.S. Of course, we've lit this up in blue and red, depending on which states were gained. Biden needs to win one more battleground state to reach that 270 electoral vote threshold to clinch the White House. Ballot counting, though, it continues this hour in Alaska, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Now considered a must-win for Trump's re-election. Now, at least one media outlet, the Associated Press, has already called Arizona for Biden. So that's why we're explaining the numbers that you might see a little bit different depending on which outlet you are watching. Coming up at 6:30, we're going to break everything down with our political expert at 6:30. And again, we'll also break down with you why we are using these numbers. Again, 253 to 213. You might see something different on a different outlet. We'll explain the reason why coming up. Now, even though those ballots are still being counted this morning, the Biden campaign has put up their transition website with a simple statement saying, in part, the crises facing the country are severe, from a pandemic to an economic recession, climate change to racial injustice. And the transition team will continue preparing at full speed so that the Biden-Harris administration can hit the ground running on day one. Meanwhile, on Twitter, Donald Trump continued to accuse the Democrats of stealing the election, but Twitter wasn't having any of it, putting a disclaimer on 6 of 14 tweets since voting closed, saying that they might be misleading about an election or other civic process. All right, so again, we're going to continue to follow all these developments for you, break it all down, what it means coming up in just a bit. Right now, we turn our eyes to COVID-19. Mark your calendars. November 14th, that is the day you can once again gather in a bar, a restaurant, a gym, as the city prepares to reopen here in Toronto, but only if it's safe.
I will not hesitate, 1, to tell the people of Toronto, or 2, to ask for whatever is necessary in order to keep the people of Toronto as safe as possible.
The mayor says waiting that extra week to reopen business was needed to better prepare. A part of that will be resuming full tracing of all contacts of confirmed COVID patients. It's something that Toronto Public Health has set aside in early October when they simply just couldn't keep up. An additional 200 case management and contact staff will be added to the current 700. Partnerships with hospitals also being established, and new technology is being explored, things like texting and robocalls to keep track of it all. Still ahead here on BT, Mayor John Tory. He's going to be joining me just after 7 o'clock this morning. We will talk about the city's scaled up response, to lifting the restrictions, that and so much more coming up. Let's get to the streets now. Steph mentioned this in her traffic report. A man in life-threatening condition this morning after a stabbing that happened near Church and Wellesley. This call came in around 3:30 this morning. Witnesses reported hearing an argument in a nearby park. The victim, a 30-year-old man, then ran into the street where he collapsed. No suspect description has been released at this time. But let's bring you back to a live look at the scene. As you can see here, ongoing investigations. So this intersection, it remains closed to traffic. Church is closed in both directions from Dundonald to Wellesley. We'll let you know should this change. A sentence will be announced at 9:30 this morning in the case of an off-duty Toronto police officer who has been convicted of assault in the beating of a young black man. Constable Michael Theriault found guilty of assault on DeFonte Miller, costing him an eye, and he was left with several other injuries during an incident in Whitby in December of 2016. Miller, 19 years old at the time. In a statement, Miller says he is grateful that we are coming to the end of the proceedings. Theriault's brother, Christian, also faced charges but was acquitted in the case. All right, a lot to talk about, as mentioned here